My name is David James Wilson. I'm a youth worker first and foremost. I work with Hillside Family Agencies, but I also do international programming. I've had a chance to be involved in programs linked to youth livelihoods, development and design of products for young people. Well, I think what we often tend to do when you start off in a new field is to try and talk about the exceptionality of that new field. So we spend a lot of time talking about how exceptional young people are. Some people have said they're exceptionally wonderful, they're great potential to work with. Others have thought that they're exceptionally risky, you should stay away from them. What we've found successful, I think, is to recognize that there's a lot about young people that's the same as adult clients, and to better understand young people by asking the same kinds of questions, which is, what are their informal practices now? How does money flow through their hands? What are their goals? What are they needing resources for? The same questions we ask of an adult or a poor adult are the questions you'd ask of a young person, and seeing them as a client for market research. And then I think, being aware in what ways are young people different. That there are particular things about young people, both how they work cognitively, how their brain works. All the large consumer product companies know that marketing a product to a young person requires a different way of talking, a different style of even communicating, even different mediums for communicating, and we can learn that they are different. I think also being aware of how young people are different, maybe developmentally, and as they participate in the community, they may have different rights, they may not be able to have property, or they may not be able to sign contracts, and just recognize that as a fact and deal with it. And second, recognize that young people, particularly by gender, may have very different trajectories and pathways. So a safe place for a young boy may not be the same safe place for a young girl. When they begin to need financial resources may be different, and understanding that's important. But I think that if I had one message for the sector, is I would say that what we're beginning to learn is that what's required are relatively thorough processes to make quite small changes. That it's about beginning to develop a new market area using all of the excellent practices that have been developed for working with adults, modifying those for what we know about how young people are different, and looking to see the very small adjustments, the 10%, the 5%, that makes or breaks the product. And I would also say to youth organizations, understand the metrics of the financial service sector, understand what they are held accountable for, and make the links between programming and those metrics. So the metrics of willingness to take on loans, frequency of loans, size of loans, repayment rates, referrals, all the kinds of things that are the bread and butter we need to understand and reflect how the various interventions that we do, if we're partnering with MFI, actually help them with those bottom lines. I guess the other nuance to that too is to recognize where we're making a social investment, where it's a commercial transaction, and to recognize as well that there's plenty of programming in this area that will require a social investment, that governments are going to spend money on, donors, or even young people themselves are going to use some of their money to learn something or to be involved in something that's not going to be a commercial transaction. We've reached a place in the sector where I think youth serving organizations and microfinance organizations can now kind of see the pie of the work, all the work that needs to happen around youth livelihood development, financial services for youth, and begin to recognize what each group really contributes, and can better describe what they do well and what things other people do well in the process.